Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to now round out our lecture on cookie sessions and single page applications. And I thought it'd be fun to spice this one up a bit. Let's look through Unsplash images, which is what I used to get all my very fancy, royalty-free images. And spa is really hard to find something where there's not a nude person. And that's probably not good for class content, right? Anyway, yeah, single page applications is what we're going to talk about briefly, just what they are and how we're kind of going to enable them with technologies like React. Um, Effectively, all it is again, a website where you only have one page. Now, this does not sound earth-shattering. It does not sound incredibly mind-blowing, right? It's not the end-all be-all. To me, it's almost a fad in a way. I can guarantee single page applications are going to become out of favor at some point in the future because that's just how the web works, right? It kind of ebbs and flows with what's popular. Right now, it's the new hotness, right? So let's look at a example. And I guess before we do that, this is a page that scrolls forever, okay? It's not just one page where, okay, this is my home page, very nice full screen image, and that's it. It's a page where content just keeps magically appearing. This is very nice when you have, say, a phone and you just want to keep scrolling, right? So I pop my phone out and I'm gonna pop open social media. I'm just gonna keep doing this and this and this and this and this and this, right? I'm not clicking links. I am not doing something to cause the page to refresh. I'm just scrolling, right? Now, what's happening here is that content's being loaded in dynamically. So I visit a single page application. It loads up. I've got Twitter here, which I may or may not use because, as we all know, Twitter's pretty much one of the internet cesspools. I'm logged in as me, mainly because most of the stuff that I look at hopefully hides all that. And then I've got Reddit here, which is, I'm not logged in here, and I don't really plan on logging in so that, you don't see what I'm subscribed to there. But the idea is that I've got this page, and this is what is loaded in right here. Now, I probably have some things loaded in underneath, right? If I start scrolling, this stuff is all probably already there. But once I hit a certain point, there's no content, right? So if I go to Reddit here and I scroll, and I'm going to refresh this page in a moment, we go to the bottom really quickly, you see that little bar, right? So here's page 2. Now, part of this, yes, I have an extension installed for Reddit to make this a single page application, but the idea still holds. If this was normal old Reddit, there would be a button here that says click next to load in the next 25 links or something like that. And I'm going to intentionally not look at what's here just so that I don't hurt my poor sensibilities. But the idea is, again, content is there. We need to load it in dynamically. Now, how do we do that? Well, we'll use a framework of some kind that's going to enable us to do dynamic calls to the web server. Traditionally, this was just AJAX. So when we talked jQuery or raw JavaScript and we talked a bit about AJAX, we're pulling content from the server. That's all that's happening here. Okay. The script will detect, hey, you've hit the bottom of the page and there's nothing new for the user. Load in something else, right? Keep them engaged, keep them on the site. Now, we'll be using React pretty much from here on out. We'll tie it to some backend technologies as well to keep it interesting. But the front end is going to be something like React, also Angular or Vue.js, other frameworks. There's a laundry list of them out there as well. You could also just use plain old JavaScript or jQuery as well. But you need some kind of a JavaScript engine to pull that content, right? And the reason why it needs to be JavaScript is that you need some kind of a client-side technology that can interact with the server. If we step back a touch, oh, good, I've got it here. That was further down, right? You have your client here. Once that page is rendered, the onus is on the browser to do things. We are not getting content from the web server unless we do something cute with WebSockets and different topic. Basically here, things are static at this point, right? So we make a request, we get our page back, we're done until the user says, hey, I need more content. Typically that's a new response, or sorry, a new request. Here though, we detect we get to the bottom of the page or whatever our threshold is for loading new content. JavaScript makes an AJAX query to the server. Server sends back a packet of some kind, typically JSON, but could be XML or just raw HTML, depends on your server, obviously. And new content just gets appended. And that's going to be something like document.getElementById main content area plus or .html plus equals new content, or whatever way you're using to transform your page. Idea here is that this is not a new concept. It's just kind of aesthetically pleasing. So, examples, pretty much every major website these days has become a single page application. Again, it's great for the mobile paradigm because people just want to scroll on their phones, right? And we're doing this whole mobile first design where we're going to build things around a phone. Let's make everything single page. So we've got Twitter here, and I'm going to pop open let me see what's going on here in the world. So this kind of dates the video a bit if I reuse it in the future. Let's go to our network page, and I'm going to refresh everything so we get a fresh view of our network. And if you've never, hey, Wings are playing tonight. They got absolutely destroyed last night. But here is all of the network requests that are happening. This is not a tab that we've looked at a lot. This is very satisfying to have just pop up, by the way, for me anyway. Here's everything loading into our page at this point in time, right? So this is everything Twitter needs to be loaded in. And you see the kind of waterfall of what's happening when. Okay, so that's great. Let's go to the bottom here. And I'm going to scroll down really fast. We start seeing new requests pop in, right? Here are all of the new things that are popping in, and we see them loading in dynamically, right? This is the concept behind a single page application. Now, I can also go to Reddit and we'll do the exact same thing. Again, there is an extension for the browser called Reddit is Fun, which makes this into a single page application. Let's refresh so we can see our network. Okay, here's everything loading in for Reddit here. Then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and here's all of our new requests for everything there. All that's really happening again is that we get to this point on our page, right? JavaScript detects the scroll bar has hit this point. Either it's the bottom or it's, again, a threshold if you want it to be a little more seamless. Okay, AJAX call, what's the next X rows in our database to pull up? That's all that's really happening here. So the idea with that, and again, most of this is going to be next week, but we are going to use React. We'll use whichever framework you want to create a single page application. That's the whole concept behind it. That's something that we'll look into a bit more in the future. That's to kind of give you a little bit of a little first taste of React if you've never played with it. But what I wanted to do first before we go into React proper next week is to look at ES6 and JavaScript a bit, because some of these concepts might not be familiar to you if you're not used to the ES6 syntax for JavaScript. Now, I've got a link to our open source textbook here on ES6. Highly recommend you read through this. And pretty much from here on out, I'm going to recommend reading through these chapters because they're all very, very, very helpful. But this basically goes over class syntax, it goes over arrow syntax, closures, things like that, spreading, destructuring, and all that fun stuff. So definitely give this a read through, especially if you're not familiar or if you want a refresher. So let's do a little demo. Now, I am perennially making little hobby video games, and some of you have probably seen this before, where I like to make little demos in JavaScript, and this is an older one where I never finished it. So simplex noise generated map. We've got some NPCs wandering around, and they will talk to me. They're very cranky because when I programmed this, I was a little cranky too. So this guy's really interested in Pluto. Here's some enemies. I have any more? There's another NPC here. And if you're not familiar with the lingo, NPC is non-player character. Okay. Yep, cranky. Anyway, point is, this particular person is constructed as a class, just like me and all these enemies around here. They're all a class. Now, why I'm showing you that is the code for those entities is basically what I'm going to be coding up here. So I've got some code here that I'll be typing, and I'm going to move it to the other screen just so that I can show you what's going on. I've got a new CodePen page here, and the reason why I'm using CodePen instead of JSFiddle is JSFiddle was really annoying me the other day, and I decided I was going to play with CodePen a bit. So let's create a non-player character. So if I were to do this in traditional JavaScript, one thing to consider again, everything in JavaScript is an object. Everything kind of extends from that, unless you're like a base type, and even then you could consider them to be object-ish. Let's do this one way. So this is right in the slides, by the way. Again, I've got them off screen. So I'm going to say let NPC equals some entity. Okay, so I'm basically creating them as an object. This is just a dictionary, key value pairs. So name is villager, inventory, because this is a game. They have an apple, they have a sword, they have a sixpence. So why not? Let's extrapolate a bit here. Their location is Startsville. And let's do the conversation and call that good. Hi. How's it going? Dude. Deep cuts. Conversation index 0. Okay. So this would be basically their attributes. I'm just defining a NPC object, and everything inside of here is accessible either via indexing into an array type thing or dot notation. So just to show you what I mean here, I could say console, and I'm just going to use the console here. I'm not going to print anything to the page. Unexpected token. Yeah, that's old. Okay. Console.log NPC. We run this. We see our object. Again, console.log is a very powerful tool. Get used to it. Use it as often as you can. I could say console.log npc.name. And then I'm going to get a syntax error because I forgot something. What is going on here? I have to go back to JSFiddle, aren't I? Clear this out. Run. Run. Maybe. Oh, no, that should work. Console. There it is. Okay, that was weird. I changed nothing, by the way. It just had to think, I guess. So npc.nameVillager is supposed to be our dot notation. Another way to do that would be to use more of an array lookup type of situation here, or sorry, a dictionary lookup. Both of them are valid. Clear this out. How do I run this? Okay. Sorry for the weird cut there. I was trying to figure out how to get this to run because I don't have a play button here anywhere. All right, so basically the point is I could call this npc.name or npc bracket name, get the exact same thing. The dot notation tends to be preferred, but either are valid. So what I want to do here, so that's my object. Let's now add in a function. So I could say chat is a function, and console.log this.conversation, this.conversation index, and there's probably better ways to go about doing this. Yep, okay, that's good. And then I want to do this.conversation index plus plus. If this.conversation index is greater than this.conversation length -1, this.conversation index equals 0. So what's going on here? Let's clear this out. I've got an NPC object. These are the same. All right, make sure I'm not hiding anything on my face. Because that happens, and I apologize. I'm adding a function where I want to talk to this person. Okay, so talking is just going to be logging it to the console. And based on where we are at in our conversation, I'm going to print out what's in the array. So they can say, hi, how's it going, dude? And then every time they say something, I'm going to increment that by 1. And if we have reached the limit of our conversation, we go back to the beginning. I think classic adventure game style talking where your conversations are pointless. Okay, so then now I've got a function I need to do something with it. I would just say npc.chat. And I could do this. Well, let's do it once and we'll see what happens. No is not defined because I have a typo. Okay, clear, clear, and let's do this in a loop. So for let I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus, npc.chat. Okay, so down here we see printed array, hi, so 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1 in our index, right? And I could add in, let's add in a few more. Hi there, I have a quest for you. Okay, it's gonna build, it's gonna refresh, and then here is, hi, how's it going? Hi there, I have a quest, hi, how's it going? So hopefully that makes sense. So some things to talk about here. Standard classic JavaScript style, I define an object, and then that object exists in memory, and then I can just interact with it directly. One thing to consider if you're not used to this, everything inside of this object can be referenced to with this. So this dot conversation index points to this particular variable, or sorry, this object's, yeah, not confused, but our words cross. This object has an attribute, and then we can reference it inside with this. If I were to use this dot conversation index outside of this object, it would not exist. Just to show you, let's clear this out. Let's comment this out, and let's say console.log this.conversation index. This will not work. It'll probably even give me a syntax error, or it's just undefined. Okay, so it doesn't exist. Anyway, bit of a long little jaunt here. Let's now convert this to more ES6 style syntax. All right, so here we've got this classic setup. I'm going to turn this into a class. Now, if you're not familiar with classes, read up on classes from the book I posted. Very standard programming concept here. Now, what I'm going to be doing is turning this into a reusable entity. Now, yes, I could define multiple NPCs, but it's going to be a little bit more extensible to turn this into a class with a constructor and construct new entities every time I want one. So again, I'm going to move you off screen here, and I am going to copy this stuff here just to get it. And then we're going to get rid of everything else. So class NPC, okay, and then constructor name, location, conversations. So first thing to notice here, I'm not defining function. I don't have parentheses after the NPC. Those go into the constructor. I'm also going to say add item just to flesh out the rest of this chat. So these are all my class functions. I can call whatever I name my NPC dot add item to add something to their inventory, or dot chat to do something with them. All right, let me close this console for now, just because it's getting annoying. All right, so now we have to add in our attributes. I did that. Okay, so we'll this chat function here. And can I auto tab this? Yeah, good enough. All right, so this dot name equals name. You know, let's just do this. This dot inventory equals an empty array. This dot location equals location. This dot conv equals conv. This dot conversation index is still 0, but now it's an equals sign. Semicolon. Okay, so this is basically the exact same thing. And I called this items, not inventory, sorry. I'm going to give my player or my character an inventory to maybe trade or drop or something later on. But we're just passing these in via these parameters for a constructor here. So I'm going to pass in my name, pass in my location, pass in my conversation. That is the basically more extensible way of, of doing this type of thing. And just to show you, I'm passing conversation in as an array. Again, we're not putting types in here. This is not TypeScript. Moving on. All right, we also need to add in our chat backend. So chat's going to function pretty much the same way. I'm going to still log this .conversation. Make sure the variable name matches. All right. This .conversation index still works. Can I auto format you? Or is that not here? Format. No. Thought there'd be a prettifier in here. Guess not. Space, space. Don't need that. Okay. So, same things going on for chat. Nothing really changes here. Okay. Add item, what we're going to do is we're going to take in an item here, and then we're just going to pop it into our, or push it into our array. I was just going to say pop it kind of colloquially, but pop has a different meaning, so I shouldn't use that. Okay. This .items.push. So push is basically plopping something onto the end of a list. But I've got a class. This is functionally similar to the other one that I have, except it's a bit more extensible now. Now what I can do, let's say let Eric equals new NPC. So let's add a brand new entity. It's a different memory space. Okay, it's Eric. Okay, I'm passing in my location, so I am in Allendale right now. And the second bit's the conversation, so hi student. Hope this isn't dragging on too much. Sorry if it is. Perfect. Then what I can do, I can define second Eric, and let's call him Eric2. Maybe I'm teaching it GR today, and we'll have spice this up a bit because I still have creativity. Just going to be my angry professor face. So I've got now two entities here, which share the same class, but they're different objects. So I could say eric.chat, let's do it properly, console.log. No, it's already up here. My mistake. Eric.chat, eric2.chat, eric.chat. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to call this chat function, which is here. I'm going to call this chat function, which is also here, but it's got a different set of objects. So now if we pop open our console, we should see, let's clear this out, and let's make eric2.chat again. Should see 4 lines spit out. Hi, students. I guess I'm the student here. This works out. Probably how you're all feeling at this point anyway. But that's exactly what I want to see, right? So this entity does its thing. We still have references to this, but this references the specific object that's instantiated, right? So when I call this on any class or on any Eric, it's relating to that memory space. If I call it for Eric2, it's a completely separate one. Right? Weird that we see completely separated concerns, which is nice. Alrighty, so that went on a little longer than I thought. We're also going to touch on arrow functions. We're also going to touch on ending the slides because I figured arrow functions was probably enough at this point. Looking at the video, we're at 25 minutes, so definitely a good point. Arrow functions are a bit fun. They are one way of kind of shortening our syntax a bit. If you've ever heard of a ternary function in C, C++, other languages, it's basically taking an if statement and condensing it down to one line. Hard to read unless you know what to look for. Arrow functions are similar. We're just kind of condensing things. It's very common in ES6 and frameworks like React and so on, so it's worth understanding. So let me go ahead and now, let's clear this out. Let's define a standard function. So we're going to convert Fahrenheit to Celsius. And you know what? Convert F to C equals function F. return f minus 32 times 5 divided by 9. So here we have a function that we're defining in, one of the standard ways. I could also say function, convert f to c, your other standard way, and we'll do that. So now console.log convert f, let's even be, let c equals convert f to c 32 degrees. Okay. Now console.log c 0. If I change this to 72, 22. So basically we're taking Fahrenheit, converting it to Celsius. All right, super exciting. Let's make this an arrow function now. So I'm going to comment you out. And let's say let's convert f, hide you for now. Let's convert f to c. Now, to turn this into an arrow function, it's going to look something like this. So we have our arrow, return, and I'm just going to copy and paste this because it's the same code. Only one return though, please. All right, so now this is an arrow function. We're going to get the exact same output. Clear. F is not defined because I called this uppercase f, that's going to be lowercase f. Same answer. We can shorten this up even further by getting rid of the parentheses if we want. Lowercase f. Same thing. Okay. If you don't have parameters, put the parentheses in there, and we'll just say this is 32. 0. Okay. Basically, shortening things up. So now, definitely read through this chapter in the book if you are unclear on any of the points. It's definitely worth a read through because once we get to React, a lot of this will become a lot more common. Now, I know that React syntax, if you are used to React, you're probably screaming at me already. It doesn't, we're not going to be doing all this stuff. We moved on. There are a lot of these things that still do exist in React. And even if we're not going to use all of them, it's worth looking into. Anyway, hope this was helpful. I will see you all in the demo videos, which are forthcoming. And yeah, enjoy. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.